Welcome to the Future Proof Leader Podcast. My name is Jessica Raypatch, and I'm CEO of Twin Legacy Solutions. Today, we have Shelley Smith, the founder and CEO of Premier Rapport. Welcome, Shelley. Thank you so much for taking your time to be on the podcast today. I want to open the floor and just kind of start off by you telling the audience what you do and what your mission is.
Thank you so much for having me on, Jessica. My jam and my obsession is everything workplace culture related. So all of the leadership development pieces inside of that, executive coaching, coming in and helping companies stand up their internal, I call them academies or universities, to help groom the succession planning, the career development. But all of it is framed around the mission, the vision, the values, the culture, what we do when we work together. And I love all that.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Well, that's every company should have that, right? Are you
Oh,
busy
they
girl?
have a culture. They have a culture. It's whether it's the culture that everybody defines cohesively and matches the words on the wall and not just a wink, wink. That's
Oh,
who we want to be.
100%. Oh, I've worked for some companies that don't have that down, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What I meant is like a HR program, but you're probably busy, right?
Yeah.
That's like every company has to have some kind of element or should have some kind of
Yeah.
element of that in there.
Yeah.
So, oh, awesome. I'm excited to learn more. So you've built business that has kind of lasted a long time. How many years have you been in business yet now?
I'm close to 20. So I technically
Congratulations.
started in 2009. So I'm not quite there yet, but I'm close. But I've been in this culture space, the coaching, the mentoring, the advising for almost 4 decades. So I've been out in a lot of storms and I've got stories to tell.
Oh, first of all, congratulations. That's quite an
Thank you.
accomplishment. So, what do you think is the real reason most businesses don't make it to the 20-year mark?
Oh gosh, I think lack of clarity, maybe lack of vision, and putting the systems or processes of people in place. Some companies start off as especially a lot now, as a gig economy type of thing, and it's a lifestyle company, and then it kind of, fades out. But companies that are built to last do have to have strong clarity on what it is that they're trying to solve, whether it's a product or a service, who it is that they're serving. Because if not, in today's world, you get gobbled up and lost in the noise so quickly now. So I think the clarity of what makes you different and the problem you're trying to fix, the problem you're solving, is of the utmost. If not, you get lost in the noise.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with that. Now, companies start with a certain vision, right? But over time, I feel like everything has evolved so quickly these days. So, how do you
Yeah.
maintain your vision and your drive, or do you have to be constantly evolving to be
I,
successful?
I think what changes is the how to. Well, now
Okay.
obviously if you've got an actual product that's no longer needed anymore, that's a whole nother story. But I think the vision of the problem you're trying to solve shouldn't change. So my vision of trying to help leaders and employees to have a nice place to go work at this little thing to get through life has always been, that's what I want for my kids. I want for my kids to work at places and they don't come home and have horror stories, but they come home and talk about that I like my job. So that hasn't changed, but the manner in which I help people get there with the tools and the processes, things like, just to mention, I think some of the systems change and what we need to do to help our people that are serving and creating the product. I think those things might change. Does that make sense? So I don't think
Oh,
the
yeah.
vision has to, but how we're getting it done probably does over the years. And I do think that companies who don't survive and thrive are the ones who were not willing to change and evolve, because the world is moving so fast and you can get, again, gobbled up really quick if you're not willing to lean in and to take some of those risks.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing so I'm a newer company. We merged back in December. So where we are right now is like we have so many visions, right? Which what they say, if you have too much of a scope, you're not successful in anything. But
Yeah.
we want to tackle this, and it's like, well, where do you start? Do you start with one specific mission and then expand it when you're successful in the one, then do you move on to the next? Or do you have different avenues? The fear as a newer CEO is that if I just have one vision but it doesn't work out, then what do
Yeah.
I do? I'm not going to fail. So then what do I
Yeah.
do? Do I redirect? I don't know.
Well, There are two veins of thought to this. You can have what's your plan B, is what I'm hearing you saying. I don't think you should have a backup plan. When you don't have a backup plan, you're more likely to go all in. And when you're going all in, that doesn't mean that you don't need to pivot and to pivot with grace and to be willing to bend like a snake instead of straight like an oak tree. I don't, I said yes to a whole lot of things when I started too, because I get asked a lot, what is your niche or who is your niche client? I don't have,
Yeah.
if there's two people that are working together, there's a culture, the same as if there's 14,000 people working together. So it's the culture that drives me and my vision in the conversation. That doesn't mean that I don't work with startups and then I need to do things differently with them. It doesn't mean that I work the same for the companies that have all those layers that have the 14,000 employees. So the yes is still a yes, but it's in a different way. But I'm still solving the problem around that it's good to have a place to work that people actually want to come work at. And then inside of that, yes, I executive coach. Yes, I help people stand up their internal universities. Yes, I help startups. Yes, I do, teams. Yes, I do keynotes. Yes, I'm actually the trainer. Yeah. So I think that sometimes we think we're doing this, and we might be, but is it still around the same
I get you.
problem we're trying to solve? Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. I think that's
Which
where
is
we're at.
different from I'm going to be a general contractor and I'm going to be a baker. Those are two
Right.
different things.
Way different things.
Different things.
Yes, yes. Oh no, that makes a lot of sense. And I like the way that you put that. That's probably where you're good at what you do. You're bringing clarity to the chaos.
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah, no,
Including my own through the years. Yeah.
I love it. Well, playing off that, so looking back at your progression, was there a pivotal moment where you went from like survival mode to thrive mode? And like, what did that look like for you?
It was the clarity. I was on the train of yes for everything and everybody, trying to have my own stories and to be able to get the types of companies and businesses that I work for. But there's been a few moments, but one of the biggest moments was I was working with my executive coach, and we were doing a VIP strategy day. And I came in, I sat down, and she had researched me and researched people in my competitive space. And she like, well, what makes you different is she called me a culture guru or culture expert or something like that. And I never really used that word before. I really mainframed it in leadership development, more around mission, vision, values, had never really turned it into the culture piece. And the light went on. And I was like, wait, what did you say? And then I realized literally it was the light bulb hit me, or the light bulb moment, that I realized that everything I'd always done was around the culture, the environment, the how we do what we do when we work together. That culture does matter. And it was that fast forward of going back when I started working when I was 11 at my parents' auction house and flea market, of all the things I had learned. And then through my Marriott days and where I was sitting, that, yeah, this isn't a leadership thing, it's a culture thing. And so I wish I would have trademarked culture matters, because I've been saying that now for almost 20 years and I could have retired by now.
Yeah.
But at any rate, that it was the moment, it was in a conversation with a coach
Oh,
that was interpreting and
lovely.
digesting and saying, and she said it so nonchalantly. Yes, of course, this is what you do. So let's look at your website and let you know. And I was like, wait, what did you just say? And
That's
that brought my
amazing.
clarity. That allowed me to write down and document my systems and my processes, because I realized that's what I'd been doing my entire life, even when I was an executive in the hospitality industry. So I realized that it was never about the brick and mortar, it was always about the people. And more so, it wasn't just about the people, it was about the collective action of the people working in a place with the same goal, whatever it was. I just said a lot. Sorry.
Yo, I love it. So you had that big aha moment with a coach. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Well,
Yeah.
that's good. Sometimes we need to hear it from someone else. We think we're doing something, and then someone comes in and it's like, "Oh, you're perfectly great at this." It's like, "I am? What?"
Yeah.
Oh,
And the
okay. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're like, oh, yes, 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 that's what I do.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of culture, so what does that look like in the workplace? I know I've heard you say like clarity, maybe clear goals, What
Yeah.
else goes into the culture of a business that makes, like, what does a healthy culture look like in a
Yeah.
business?
Well, I'm going to use what hopefully people won't think it's buzzwords, but psychological safety is important. That a healthy culture is a culture where literally any team member at any level can spark an idea, can push back on something that's not working, has the right and the freedom to ideate. It's okay to say, I disagree, but I'm going to go ahead and move forward. I'm going to, it's that difference between commitment and compliance. So, a lot of time you see people being compliant, and yes, I'll do that, but are they really committed? Healthy cultures have committed people. So it's above and beyond the satisfaction. It's above and beyond the engagement. It is the deliberate showing up and commitment that you hired me to do X. I'm doing that. And if I see something else, I'm also going to bring that too. And environments that allow for that are the ones that really not just survive, but thrive, and the ones that create, and the ones that innovate, and the ones that have the stability, the ones that don't have a problem attracting when they have a position that's open because their reputation is so good. Their internal teams are always saying, hey, when you're hiring, I know somebody who would be a great fit for us. So that internal, people come to meetings and they're prepared. Deadlines are met. When people make errors, they own it, and there's no retribution for that, including the CEO. So those are some of the things that are really good signs of a healthy culture. And gift that I was given is I can be in a location for a few minutes and watch what people are doing and not doing, and really start to get that vibe of whether there's a healthy culture or not. People walking down the hallway and speaking or not speaking, getting on the elevator, speaking or not speaking, or looking at their devices. How if there's a receptionist, how the receptionist greets you. There's just all kinds of little. In my last book, Thirsty, I talk about these little droplets that are there every day. And so, are we hydrating our relationships? Are we dehydrating them? And so, there's a lot that goes into it. The problem is that most people just don't pay attention to it. They don't pay attention, and all of a sudden, their green flashing lights of a great employee engagement survey just went red or yellow. And they're like, what happened? Or their high performing team member resigned. And they're like, wait, why are you leaving? And there were signals all along. They just weren't paying attention.
Oh, so when you walk into a company, so I hear you saying all these little things that clue you into how the culture is going.
Yeah.
Is it more often that the CEOs understand there's a problem and that's why they're bringing you in, or they think have a healthy culture and they're just kind of trying to do some team building exercises? What do you usually see typically?
I usually don't get called into the ones that are really a hot mess because they
Um,
really don't want to fix it.
right.
So they're kind of oblivious and don't care, quite frankly. Their employees know, their frontline, workers know. But I am more often, and I have been called into those, but that's usually when the board's gotten involved and it's a non-negotiable that you need to come in. Or it is an interim CEO who knows that something needs to be done. But more often, it's the CEO or somebody in the decision-making tree that just knows either something's a little bit off, or they just want to check and see, are we doing everything we need to do? Or they know something's off. Maybe they realize they've been too far removed as they've grown, because it happens a lot when companies grow really fast. All of a sudden, the decision makers start to lose touch of how they got there, right? Because we've hired a lot, we're moving really fast. And all of a sudden, we wake up and we go, wait, something has shifted and we just don't know what it is. Those are the ones that call me because they get it and they understand. They have always understood that culture isn't a nice to have. Culture is
Um,
something that we need to define and protect every single step of the way.
Oh, I agree. So I've worked in different spaces, like I had mentioned, and I will say, just from personal experience, I honestly, I'm such an action-oriented person that I don't, with my team, I take like big ownership over there. I'm the kind of I call it a servant leader. In the
Yep.
military, you have different types of leaders.
Yep.
I've always learned very quickly that if you treat your people really well, they'll do the best work. And
100%.
not just to bribe them to do a good job, just so you get the most out of them. Just genuinely take care of your people. and they will
Yeah.
take care of you and your mission, and you guys, will get through this together. But I think I've learned that through the years because I've been empowered, not in all positions and not all organizations, but the jobs that I feel like I thrived in the most are where I had a boss that was like, Jessica, this is the goal. Figure it out. However you want
Yeah.
to get there, this is the goal. Here's your
Yeah.
team. Let me know if you need anything. And I'm like, it's terrifying at first because you're like, oh my gosh, I have no direction. This is bad leadership. There's no direction. And then it was like, I go to my team, like, guys, this is our mission. What do we need to do to get it done? And they're like, oh, I got an idea. And then it's
Yeah.
just like, not only does that, excuse me, bring the team together, because then you're collaborating together and you really like, it's your own results. So I've when you really take ownership of the work that you do, you feel empowered, but then you have the ownership, then you're going to want to make sure it works for long term. And
That's
that's
right.
your baby now that you've created together. And I just feel like I haven't always been in that position where I was able to do that or have a team where we can collaborate like that. But I just
Yeah.
remember the very best jobs were always when I felt empowered, terrified, but empowered. And I had the closest relationships with my staff. So I know what I'm feeling the vibe of what you're putting out there, and I
Yeah.
like that a lot. So
I've got one of my clients that I coach is after today's recording, and she's already given me a heads up when the things that we've been working on. She has good news for me. She's able to shift into the job that we talked about, same company. And
nice.
she literally said something very similar to what you just said was, Shelley, in the past, I wasn't necessarily the subject matter expert. So the expectations, I choreographed what needed to get done, but I wasn't the bearer of all the information, right? The go-to. She said in the role that we talked about, and now I am the subject matter expert and I'm terrified because now the expectation is delivery on a whole nother level. So she literally, I'm excited in the email. I'm excited and I'm terrified. And can we talk about this today? So that just to have you say that it's
Yeah.
that I'm excited and it pushed me forward. And I'm excited to be uncomfortable about what I'm uncomfortable about in order to get comfortable.
It's so
Yeah.
rewarding. I don't think, well, I have a Marine Corps background, right? So as an officer, you don't get much direction and you don't get
Yeah.
micromanaged. And it's like if you fail though, you're held responsible. But at the
Sure.
same time, oh man, people are counting on me. I'm absolutely terrified, but we have one option and it's to complete the mission. There's no other option. We don't fail. We do it.
Right.
And I feel like, yeah, that just tell her the most the most accomplished moments of my life were right after I was completely terrified to do anything. So
Right. That's
I
right. And you
love
just
that.
said something key in that you were taught that the only mission, the only was to accomplish the mission. And that goes back to you can't have a backup plan. Because if you have a backup plan, you already told your mind
That's true.
an excuse. Oh, don't, it wasn't going to, we're going to go with plan B. No, 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 no. There was only one thing we had to do, and we said we were going to do it. Maybe we changed how we're going to get it done, but we're still going to do that.
I
So I love that.
Amazing. Okay. Let me get back to my question. I love to derail my questions, because it's just such a natural flow. But okay, I have good ones for you. How do you decide when you to evolve versus when to stay true to what's always worked? So let's say,
Mm,
you know what I mean? Like something
I
is
do.
working, but do I evolve? Do I keep it the same? How do you know?
Yeah. Part of this goes to our natural hardwiring of if we lean into that innovation and agility versus a process and precision. One's risk taking, one's risk mitigating. I lean into, and it sounds like you do as well, the innovation and agility. So, risk our us. We will stir the pot
Yeah.
just because it's fun,
Yeah.
right? We're
Yes.
like, let's change it up.
Yes.
But in the meantime, the rest of the team is like, it's not broken. Why are we? So
Yeah.
you've got to ask yourself both of those questions. You've got to learn to have enough patience to sit in the moment to make sure you're not just stirring the pot. Is there a tweak that will further amplify it, or am I just to be tweaking? And so I think that the key is to ask yourself, is it really broken? If so, where and why are we trying to fix it? Or you know what, it's not broken. You need to go find something else to do. So this goes back to, well, what else can we say yes to? Because this is running like a smooth ship. We're not trying to turn the ship. We're in the direction and we're moving, at the right speed of wit. So I think you have to ask yourself those questions first and foremost. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes total sense. Yeah. Yes, it does. So you sparked another question in my mind because this is something I would just love your opinion on because as a project manager, I was formerly IT project manager, implementing new systems, new protocols. Ugh, change. Nobody likes to change. So change management is not something I was ever trained on officially and formally. It was something I was expected to do and drive.
Yeah.
What is the secret, do you think, to change management? Because it's not going to be possible that you're going to walk in and tell people, listen, this is how we've done things. You come here, you get your coffee, you do your work, you check your emails, whatever. But guess what? Starting tomorrow, we're going to have a team meeting at 9 a.m. We're going to talk about our daily goals. And then on Fridays, we're going to have a team building session. You're going to get some people that are going to be like, oh, that sounds amazing. I'd love to do that. And other people are like, I'm too
Ugh.
busy.
Yeah.
No, that
Yeah.
sounds terrible. Now you're impeding on my space. What have you learned about change management when you
Two
come
things.
into? Okay, yes, tell me.
Communication for sure. So you have to communicate the why and you got to connect the why and the buy-in. So first is talk about it why. So it's nothing wrong with coming and saying, hey guys, I know we're used to doing X. I would like to start doing this because of. And so you can approach it with, here's the change. The preference would be to reverse it. If we could speed up our timeline, if we could have less errors and omissions, if we could get our tickets that is being supported to the IT department to shrink, what might we say or do differently? And so now we've sparked to the group that we're trying to achieve something in a different way and we're asking them for their input. And so somebody might say, what? Can everybody brainstorm and let's start to do some stand-up meetings in the mornings? And then maybe on Friday, let's do a final huddle of what's going on. And then let's circle back around and see if it worked. Well, now it was their idea. It wasn't your idea. And so now the change isn't being done to them, it's being done with them and through their idea and thought. And then we come into that change with, okay, we said we needed to make the change because of X. We came up with these ideas. This is our supporting cast. This is when we're going to come back, check. Because there's always going to be the bell curve of embracing. So some people embrace and change really quick. Some people are, the late adopters. That's okay with us. What kind of training is needed? That's a big thing that is missed. Is that here's a new checklist, go do it. We've talked about here. So some people are like here and they go figure it out. Some people it paralyzes them and they sit and they spin and they never figure it out and they don't know how to ask for help or the environment doesn't support asking for help, but we never trained them. But yet we're holding them accountable for the change. And because they shook their head, we think they're on the same page with us. No, they're just being polite. We were
Wow.
just so communication and creating that buy-in. And then on the in between, it's the knowledge checks, the reinforcement, the adoption, backing up to the why we're doing this again for the early and the late adopters for that. And then from the technical training along the way, I figured that out. And then I got ProSci certification. So through the ADKAR model of change management. And there's the Cotter change management, ProSci, there's all kinds of, certifications, but all of them are the same. All of them have the component of communication on the why, the change, what is our goal, what do we need to happen, and then everybody's idea of how do we get there, and then the knowledge and the training transfer along the way.
Yeah.
Just
And I
because
love
it's a
the,
great idea
yeah.
doesn't mean everybody else is going to think it's a great idea or that they see what you see because we usually don't articulate everything we're thinking. We know it's great because it's all inside of our head. We
Oh,
see it, but the
100%.
masses don't. The masses don't.
That's
So
true. Well,
that's that's my thought.
it makes me think of two things, right? So I'm a
Okay.
mother of three daughters, proud
Mm-hmm.
mother of three daughters. And one of my tactics that I have learned is when something changes. I have one daughter, she's go with the flow. One that's like, we've changed something. This is not okay. And then one that's just gonna be left or right. I never really know. But for my oldest one with the anxiety, when things have to change, I do smooth into, well, the why she doesn't always understand. I feel like she paralyzes herself into the anxiety where she can't. I think that's so important though. If they can understand the why, that's critical. But to be like, well, this is what happened. We had your sister got sick, so we have to cancel this event that we were going to go to. But is there anything else we can do to make things better? And then make it her idea. And that's always been such a quick,
Yep.
gives her empowerment back to feel like she's in control of the situation. Oh, I'm going to come up with an idea. This changed. However, I'm going to then steer the change into something different. And I think
Yeah.
that's so powerful for a lot of people to feel like they contributed. Going back to the empowerment, making sure it's a decision you're doing together. I think that's so key. And then it made me think of what was the other thing I had? So where this is gets a little bit trickier, right? So you have the why and the team. So I did IT systems, and I don't know if you work with like implementations along that route or not,
Yeah.
but I was one of the systems that I did, I was implementing where they were getting rid of the secretaries
Okay.
and that the seniors, I was implementing a system that was super, I put everything into it, my heart and soul, so that they had to submit where they were going in the world. And it would just take them less than 30 seconds to submit this request so that it can go into a process so that the director would know exactly where all his agents were. Well, I had a secretary to do that. Now it's more work for me. I don't care if the director knows where I am. So those situations were hard for me because it's like, well, now we're implementing a system so that the higher level C-suite understands the operations and what's happening on the ground. But the people on the ground are like, you're taking away my secretary, and now I have to do work, but my mission is this, and it's way more critical than your little system you're implementing.
Yeah.
That buy-in was always tough. The buy-in there was always tough for me because I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. You have a really important mission, Mr. Agent. However, the director needs to know where you are. So mine was
Yeah.
always like, even why
It,
never seemed to work.
it's the, I don't remember who first brought this up, the radio station WIIFN, What's in It for Me?
Right.
You have to get them to articulate what's in it for them. So sometimes it's reverse engineering of, well, what's at risk if we don't implement this change? What's the cost and the benefit? And you've got to get the other party to come up of what it might cost them if they don't, or what it might benefit them if they do. What's it cost you when your manager doesn't know where you are? What might the benefit be that your manager knows where you are? We're not
I like that.
replacing the secretary, we're shifting the duties to optimize XYZ. But if you don't see that, let's step back a minute and talk about, again, what the impact is. So you got to get them to want to dial into that radio station and to tell you what's in it for them. Because if not, change doesn't happen, resistance happens. The barriers start to, and again, just because you think it's a great idea doesn't mean that they do. I like using, and this goes with that, and it goes with your the comment you talked about your daughter. I have one of those too. I've got three kids too.
Oh,
Mine's boy,
nice.
girl, boy, but
Oh,
I
nice.
have all three, just like you just said.
Oh, I love it.
Um,
Okay.
so I actually have, and I'm going to give her a shout out, Dr. Sarah Spradlin. I'll never remember. She's an IO psychologist, brainiac, ex-Marine. She's a
Oh,
badass. She's just
nice. Love it.
um, so I was actually visiting at her home one time, and one of her daughters came up. She also has three daughters and a son as well, who's also a Marine. But at any rate, her youngest daughter came up to her and was saying blah, and she very calmly, she looked at her and she said, okay. She repeated what she heard, and she said, now how can I support you with that? And then
Oh,
she just shut up and waited for her daughter to respond. So she just, those words, how do I support you with that? The, what role do you want me to take? What is it you're thinking and processing? And is there something I can do to help you with that? Is there something you just want to talk about that we can kind of spear back and forth? But it was just a great way to just calmly get the other person talking. And so that's what I would add to when you get that resistance, because sometimes it's non-negotiable, right? We have to roll out this change.
yeah.
So we can't negotiate about the outcome we're looking for, but maybe we can negotiate with how we're suggesting we need to go through the change. Maybe you got a better way. So how can I support you with the change that's happening? Maybe we
Love
can
that.
play with the deadlines. Maybe I can give you a team to talk about the checklist. Maybe we need to beta something first. So if they get stuck, you got to be ready to, but you want to start getting them talking. Well, what could we do? What might we do? And then you got to pick up one of those things and go, you know what? I'm not, even if you're not all in, you can go, but I'm willing to try that because you might be onto something and I might not be seeing that. Let's do that. How long are we going to do it for? How do I support you in that? What do you need from me? Because now it's not you saying you've got a week to figure it out. It's them saying, give me a week, give me two people, give me 20 hours, whatever it is. And I'm going to come back and tell you what worked and what didn't work and what I think we might be able to do. Okay.
I needed you
So,
on my team
yeah.
10 years back.
Well, these are things we learn as we get in our seasoned. I'm in my seasoned.
Love it. I love
I
it
didn't know
though.
that when I was a young whippersnapper.
Right? It's like, you're gonna do
Yeah.
what I say because we needed to. No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. I've never been
Title. I'm title. You're going to listen to me. Yeah.
yeah.
That
I'm
doesn't
like,
work.
well, it's happening whether you like it or not. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
That's what I want to say, but we're not
But you
gonna,
can't say that.
you can't
That
say
doesn't go
that.
well. Yeah.
It does not create a nice culture.
Correct.
Well, the final question to wrap things up, I want to ask you, what happens when people invest in making their culture one that will thrive versus a company that just continues to accept whatever culture, unhealthy habits that they have? What are they losing? What's the cost?
The tangible things is it reduces your turnover, increases your retention, increases your top line sales and your profitability, decreases whatever you call your waste, your errors, whatever that is. Those are the hard line things that people measure, right?
Yeah.
The organic thing that happens is all of a sudden people will say it's different around here, and they're not talking about it used to be better around here. They're like, it's different around here. We have fun. I don't wake up with the Sunday night blues about my Monday morning wake up. I don't complain that we're hybrid and then I've got to be in the office 2 days a week. I don't complain about the meeting anymore. We don't have to have a meeting about the meeting and the meeting and the meeting that never get done for the action plans because we're always in a meeting and
Yep. Yep.
nobody's clear. So what's at risk is um, the profitability at the end of the day. That's why we're in business, right? But the rewards are just so great. Who doesn't want a team that actually wants to come work and to collect the paycheck and not just collect the paycheck, but they feel like they're giving back to society? Who doesn't want that?
Right.
Nobody gets up in the morning and says, I'm going to go work for somebody that I love today, but I hate what we're doing. You just don't do that. A
Right.
lot of people get up and say, I've got to go punch the time clock today because I've got to pay the bill. But wouldn't it be great if they were doing what they wanted to do? Because then they're committed to show up in a different way. Anxiety is gone. This burnout uh, that we're hearing over and over. We hear
Yes.
burnout, we hear anxiety, and we hear we're at capacity.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be great if we didn't hear any of that anymore at work? I know I would love that.
Yeah.
Like so those are the pros and the cons. This is what we're hearing. These are the possibilities. Wouldn't it be great if you didn't hear those inside of your walls anymore, or you saw the comments on the employee engagement survey, the comments that they're not comfortable telling you directly
Yeah.
that, leadership is this or that, or I can't say anything or whatever. So
I love it. Well, where can people find you? Obviously, this is something people should be investing in for,
absolutely.
I would love to work for any company that invests
That
in
does, right. Well, that alone, to your point, in all seriousness, when employees hear that there's training and development and career pathing and they do
Oh,
team
yeah.
building and they do this, I mean, people do like that. Who doesn't want to, work at a place like that? I'm easy to find, premierrapport.com, PREMIERRAPPORT.com. It is all about the connection. It is about hydration. You can also go on Amazon and look at my latest and greatest book, Thirsty. I'm most active on LinkedIn. So you can look me up on LinkedIn too, either personal page or my company page.
Awesome. I'll be following you. You have amazing input, and I'd love to learn from you. Thanks for being on the podcast and taking your time. I'm sure you're very busy. To our audience members, thank you so much for tuning in to the Future Proof Leader, and we will see you next time.